Alright, welcome back. I'm sure you can see what I'm doing here. I don't need to explain this, but I will anyways. This is a tier list. I'm gonna make a tier list video of all the games that I've played so far. Why am I doing this? Several reasons. First one is I like tier lists. I don't know what it is. It's something oddly soothing to watch a tier list. I just enjoy it a lot. It's like ASMR for the brain. I cannot explain it. I can only hope that you share my feelings for this type of things. If not, I'm sorry. The next video will be gameplay, so just bear with me for this one. The other reason is just taking a little bit of a break, a couple of days break from recording, just setting up my next game, taking a little bit easy, because I do record every day, one episode every day if I can. It's a bit of a routine. I don't mind it, but it's nice to take a break from time to time. Also, I've caught a little bit of a cold, so if you suddenly hear me go quiet, that's me muting the microphone to snort as hard as I can. Or if you hear my voice being a little bit odd, that's what that is. What else? What else do we need to talk about? This tier list is made in Paint. I know it looks absolutely gorgeous. That's because I have a PhD in Paint, along with my other thousands of PhDs. So you can compliment me in the comments if you want. Other than that, please don't dislike the video if you disagree with something, or if you hate me for putting your favorite game in the wrong tier. Just tell me in the comments how much you want me to die, or how you want me to die. I can handle that. But disliking is a little bit, be a bro. Don't dislike. And also remember, I am not... It's kind of weird I have to say this, but I feel like I have to. Obviously, I am not criticizing you for liking the games that I don't like. I'm only criticizing the game, so don't take anything personally, please. Other than that, you might have seen this weird tier that I've made here, HS tier, and you might be wondering, what is that? What does that stand for? To that, the only thing I have to say is we will get to that in due time. Believe me, it's a very special tier I made for a very special game on this list, and we will talk about it when we get to it. Other than that, can't really think of anything, so let's just get going with this. I don't know what order I'll do this. So yeah, I won't go in hyper detail into why I'm ranking things the way I'm ranking it. I'll just point out some of the main things about the games that I'm ranking here. Don't want the video to go too long. So let's start. Shit, forgot to mute, sorry. Well, now you know why I will mute. 1 second. I'm back. Let me take a sip of water. That was 3 sips of water. I'm such a liar. Anyways, let's just get it going. First game is Aragami. Aragami. That was the stealth ninja indie game. Very small game. Oh shit, it's white in the background? Oh crap. Well, I'll fix this. This game... It's not much to rank, really. It felt, from what I remember, it felt more like testing out some new cool ideas, which were cool, to be fair. The shadow interactions through the shadows and the way you paint the shadows, and also the cell shading, kind of throwback to some games from the GameCube era, which I liked. I had a GameCube when I was a kid. Really liked a lot of those games. Generally very good games, so finding inspiration from that era of gaming is not a bad thing by any means, but the game is rather simplistic and small. It had some speedrunning elements, I think. It had some story elements. As a game, maybe D tier. I mean, it's not that much of a game, to be honest. It's just not that much to to rank. It had some good ideas. I'd say the ideas are up here, B and C tier, but as a game, and that's what we're reviewing here, or ranking here, I think D tier is fair. Let me just adjust my microphone a little bit. There just isn't that much to... it just wasn't that... Shit, hold on. It just wasn't that much to consider. Very short game. Yeah, I think D tier is fine. Good ideas. I would love to see the ideas, the shadow stuff, and the way you kill the enemies. I'd like to see that in other games. But this game itself, cute story, short, repetitive, D. Side note, I know Aragami 2 was released shortly after I played this. By the way, what you're hearing is my pen. In case I say something stupid or I cough, I need to write down the timing in my book, so I go edit. But yeah, I know Aragami 2 came out, haven't played it, caught some reviews, apparently it didn't do too well. But yeah, so maybe I'm overestimating the value of the ideas. Maybe it's actually just down in E tier, I don't know. But I'm putting it in D tier for the time being. Next one, what do we go? We can go Witcher. Recently finished that one, so it's fresh. Ooh, The Witcher. I've been thinking, while I've been playing this game, I've been thinking about how I'm gonna rank this, because I've been planning this for a little bit. I don't have a script or anything. I'm going cold. It's a hot take? I think it's got a hot take. No script, nothing, just going off of memory. The Witcher is like two-sided for me. Because the story is phenomenal. The story is phenomenal, good music, great characters, great voice acting. And the modding community is absolutely beyond fantastic for this game. I mean, I'm sure that you can find a mod for anything. So the ways that you can play this game and the ways that you can tweak this game to make it different, I don't even know all the things that you could do. I'm sure there are people out there that have been playing around with a lot of the mods, and they have a better understanding of what type of mods there are there and which ones are the good ones. If you are one of those guys, you can put it in the comment field, in the comment section for other people to see, in case other people want to know. The mods that I used, I tried to keep the game as close to vanilla as possible, because I wanted to see the experience that the developers wanted you to have. But even then, I did add in a lot of things that I knew were going to piss me off. Like the item durability, like the looting. What else? Improved fast traveling. I think there was one more thing, quality of life. And I'm pretty sure if those mods weren't there, I will be very annoyed. And this is why I have a hard time rating it, because from a story perspective, the game is like up here. S or A tier. It's one of these two. But from user experience perspective, we're talking B or C tier for me. So the question is, I think, oh shit, I hit my microphone. It's either A or B tier. And I think if you add the mods, if you include the mods in the review, not the review, but like tiering, ranking, I am willing to put it in A tier. Because I'm pretty sure you can mod away anything you don't like and mod the game in the direction that you do like. So any kind of crap user experience or anything you find lackluster, I'm pretty sure you can fix with the mods. And originally, I was also gonna criticize it for being very tedious. It does have some tedious things. The navigation in the nature, in the world, is very tedious. The control mechanics are very tedious. The fighting is very repetitive and boring. The RPG elements are a little lackluster. The monsters are also very uninteresting. And also the collectibles, the running around and collecting the things in the world, the question marks and stuff, very boring. Some of those things I can skip. So I changed my mind, because you don't have to do it. It's just me, I just don't like having stuff on the map. But you might not care, and if you don't care, that's not going to bother you. So I decided not to overemphasize it. And also some of the other things I'm pretty sure you can fix with the mods. So, oof, this is hard. One thing I didn't like was the pacing of some of the quests. The pacing was a little bit off. You would have these high spike moments of excitement, and then this long period of you just doing chores. And I don't think that's fixable. I think I'm putting it in B tier, honestly. It might be a little bit low. Maybe it's here somewhere, but you know, we gotta put it somewhere. Oh, this is tough. This is actually tough. I don't know where to put it. Some things are very good, some things are very annoying. Let me put it in B tier for the time being. And I will see... Nah, you know what? Let's put it in A tier for the time being. And I'm putting it in A tier, and it's the modding that puts it over the edge for me. Pushes it over the edge for me. The modding in this game is phenomenal. The community that mods this game definitely deserves as much credit for why I think this game is A tier as the developers who made it. So big shout out to the people who putting in the time to mod this game. They definitely deserve a lot of credit for making this game better. If you're talking without any mods whatsoever, I genuinely think maybe we're down on C tier. The game is very buggy and plays very annoyingly. But again, anyways. Still fantastic game though. I still recommend it. Story is amazing. Characters are amazing. Absolutely up there. But maybe A-. Keep that in mind. Next game. What do you want to rank? I can do Hollow Knight. Hollow Knight, I am putting in C tier. And on this one I've thought a lot about. And I will explain. And I'm not upset about putting it in C tier. Some people might be, and I understand why. But hear me out. The game is good. I recommend the game. It looks fantastic. Plays very crisp controls, and I like that. Very cool boss fights. It has decent challenge levels, great replayability with the added content that I didn't do on recording the trials and stuff. Great music and a very fun customization system. I liked it, the charm system. But there is a couple of things that annoy me with the game. One is the traveling isn't very streamlined, which takes up a lot of your time. Also, there's very little incentive. Like, it becomes very monodic, if that's the word, to just kill the monsters that you're passing over and over again to collect these little silver things, the bug poop things. Because the only thing you can do with it really is the charms that I've found valuable, and some other basic upgrades. It just felt a little meaningless from time to time. Also, in the beginning, the memorization of all the spots can be tedious for some. I have to take that into consideration. It wasn't tedious for me, but I can totally see why others would get mentally drained from it. But the big thing, and really the only thing that matters to me, and this is the reason why it's not A tier, because if it wasn't for this, I'd put it in A tier. It's the narrative structure. I hate fractured storytelling. It's just an expression I have come up with. It's basically, it describes when developers don't structure the story and the narrative of that story properly. They don't streamline it. They break it up. They scatter it across the world in the form of scrolls and audiobooks and all that kind of shit. And it's nothing but a blatant attempt to cut production cost. That's the only thing it is. It's to cut down on the cost of producing cutscenes. It's to cut down the cost of writing. It's to cut down the cost of voice acting. It's the only reason why that is. Very few big games pulls off that kind of fractured storytelling. Oh shit, my pen. Very few games pulls that type of narrative structure off. It's extremely hard to pull off. Extremely hard, because either you overdo it and you basically have this lagging storytelling. At that point, you might as well have it streamlined and cohesive, or you mess it up and you fracture it so much that most of the story is missed for most players. Now, I'm sure there are some people out there who play the game and they were like, well, I got the full story. Well, good for you. I'm happy. That means you had a great gaming experience. But I'm willing to bet that most people that played this game missed out on most of the story. And that wouldn't necessarily be as bad if it wasn't for the fact that the story is phenomenal. After I beat this game, I did some research, and there was a blog I found. Hold on, I'm gonna adjust my microphone. I'm gonna sit sideways. Don't need to have my hand on the keyboard. I found a blog post that had compiled everything that they knew about the lore and the world and the prologue to this game into one big ass post. They had looked into like files and like hidden files and blah blah blah. They looked at everything, and I read through that entire post. And the story of the world in Hollow Knight, or the Hollow Knight world, is absolutely fantastic. It's so good, in fact, that if I find a Hollow Knight novel, essentially novelization of this game and the world and the characters and the gods here, I will buy that book because I want to read it. It's just that good. And it makes me so sad that I missed the story, and that probably a lot of other people missed the story through playing through the game. It's extremely hard to catch all the details, and when you have a story this good, a world that is this good, I have to deduct a lot of points for it. It is very bad, and it illustrates everything that is horrible with this narrative structure that we're seeing in a lot of games. And that's why it's not in A tier. Still a great game, I recommend it. Absolute great value for money. But the developers need to be spanked hard for picking this type of narrative structure. They wasted this good story, this phenomenal story. So yeah, very unfortunate. I want to put it in A tier, but I gotta be strict. Shitty narrative structure, fractured storytelling, hate it, and I'm gonna stay consistent. Gonna hate it wherever I see it. Other than that, the knight is so cute. I really like this knight. It's so cute. Anyways, put it there. A little bit of a long rant, but I'm sorry. Let's move on. Jedi. Shit, I mess up this one. Is it Jedi Knight? No. Fallen Order? Jedi Fallen Order? Something. It has an odd name. I'm just gonna call it Fallen Order. We'll call it Fallen Order. I even think I messed up the name in the first episode when I was introducing the game. It has a dumb name. But the game is good. Surprisingly good game. I was pleasantly surprised by it. The first time I heard about this game and I saw some footage, I was like, screw that game. It just looks like Star Wars Tomb Raider. I'm not interested. Then I found it on sale and I was like, you know what? Let's try it. It's a good game to start off this YouTube channel gameplay thing. I played it. I loved it. I'm putting it up here. Some people might think it's too high. I understand why you think it's too high. I genuinely love this game. Well, I didn't love it, but I genuinely like this game a lot. It has very fluent gameplay, if I remember correctly. The gameplay is just pleasant. The fighting is pleasant. It's not the most content-rich game out there, especially since it's Star Wars. Star Wars has a massive, like, almost space opera-esque universe. Space fantasy, space opera-esque universe. There's plenty of things to draw from. And I understand if some people are a little bit disappointed with the scope of the game, because it kind of does live in its own little bubble, but I actually liked it. It was very down to earth, very grounded, and it was a different Star Wars experience than what I'm used to. It was very personal and very like a human experience. It also has some interesting characters. I'm not gonna say they're great characters, but I do like the main character. And the reason why I like the main character is because you start off feeling like the character is doing the right things for the wrong reasons, and then he has a moment with his droid, which I argue is the cutest droid that I've ever seen in Star Wars, and I want one. And then he kind of grows, he matures into a much better hero character. And it's a very good hero arc, actually. I'll almost say underrated hero arc. It's a surprisingly good and consistently good game. It looks phenomenal. The visuals of this game is just great. It's absolute eye prawn. I'm gonna go with that word. Just a very consistent, very well made, few flaws type of game. It also has replayability. So, from what I remember, honestly, just a pleasant game. It's not the hardest, like, Souls-like game out there, even though it has Souls-like elements. I think I jumped into it at the hardest difficulty. Not particularly hard. It did have some control issues. You know, it's bound to happen now, since mouse and keyboard is essentially being crapped on by everybody, but whatever. But generally, just a good experience. Very good experience, actually. I liked it a lot. Genuinely did. They have announced the second one. I'm looking forward to it. Very positive surprise, this game, for me. I could do Divinity. Now, I'm gonna be honest. I don't remember what I criticized about Divinity. I remember some things. I remember criticizing the item customization. It was a little bit lackluster. I also remember criticizing the amount of reading, like dialogue reading that there were. But you can skip that, because in this game, I specifically remember that you could explore the game in your own way and figure out what was going on that way, instead of just sitting and reading what other people have to say and being told what was going on. And I really like that. I really like that you can explore the story and the lore in the way you felt you enjoyed the most. And that was a big plus. The game also is just really, really good. Just flat out really good. And I made this tier list yesterday. And I haven't gone back and read what I wrote in my notes for the review. I'm trying to remember what it was that I didn't like about it. And I can't remember. I just don't remember. So I've been like thinking, should I put it in S tier? Because I can't really think of any reason why not. But at the same time, there is this voice in the back of my head that is saying, no, it's not S tier. That's a tough one. I think I'm gonna put it in A tier. And I'm putting it in A tier because I think it was something about the music also. It was very uninteresting. I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure. I can't formulate a reason, a specific reason why I don't want to put it in S tier. It's understandable if some people out there think it's S tier. I wouldn't necessarily disagree, but there is just this gut feeling that is telling me to put it in A tier. And I think there were a couple of things that bugged me about it. But I can't tell you why, unfortunately, because I don't really know as of right now. I'm going to put it in A tier. S tier is reserved for the absolute, undisputed best games. And this is a solid game, don't get me wrong. Like, I enjoy this game a lot. And I would play it more if I had more time. Absolutely. Now, to be fair, I don't know how the multiplayer is in this game, and I also don't know what the modding community and the custom map community and the co-op community feels about this game. So it's very possible that if I had actually explored those elements of the game, I might have put it into S tier just because of how good it is. So I recognize that, but I haven't played it, those part of the game, so I can't really comment on it. It would be interesting to read what other people that have spent thousands of hours with this game think, where it will land, because I genuinely don't know. From what I played, A tier, but it could very well be S tier. I just want to put that out there. Next, Octopath. Octopath was a little bit of a nostalgia trip. I'm gonna put it in B tier. It doesn't really reinvent anything. It has a cute class system that I liked. It's just a consistently good game. Very typical old school RPG game. Reminded me a lot of Golden Sun. That's why I decided to play it, because when I saw it, I was like, holy shit, that reminds me of Golden Sun. Give me a moment, I'm gonna take a sip. Alright. So yeah, I enjoyed the game. It has a decent challenge level to it. It doesn't hold your hand all that much. So when you're starting quests, you actually have to look for clues in what people say. There's not a lot of like, go to this point, go to that point that we see in a lot of games today. So, and I like that. It's a little bit old school. I like it. Characters are interesting. They have some interesting story. The world is alright. It's not as big to explore, if I remember correctly. I think Golden Sun did that better, and some other games like Golden Sun from back in the day, which is probably why I'm putting it in B tier. It's just consistent. It doesn't like reinvent anything, really. It's just a consistent, nostalgic RPG game, and you know, it's a fun experience. A lot of game time out of it. Looks great, so I'm putting it in B tier. Just good, but nothing spectacular, really. But still, a game that is recommended if you like those type of games. It just does its job really well. Next on the list, NieR. Oof, are we doing NieR? Okay. NieR Automata. Okay, let me sit up for this one. I need to get in proper position for this one. I suspect a lot of people are going to be upset with this one. I didn't like this game. I think this game is a bait and switch. It uses a lot of cheap tricks to get you interested in it, and then it switches on you and just throws crap in your face. Now, that being said, there are things I really like about it, and I'll get to that in a second. But let's go through the things I don't like. There are a lot of obsolete game design choices that we don't see in the West anymore, and it's for good reason. We don't see it because people don't like it. And playing this game makes you realize that games actually develop over time. It's a little bit hard to think about if you're not into like the meta of game design and the trends of game design. You just like to play the games, which is fine. But playing this game really casts a light over what developing, like the trends in game development looks like. Because it has a lot of elements in it that are just annoying. And I know the game justifies some of those elements with its lore. And I wrote this in the review, and it's like, and I think I wrote that justifying bad game design choices with lore does not make bad game design choices good. And I stand by that. And I'll give you an example. I thought about this for a while, actually. I'll give you an example. Imagine that you play a fantasy game. Imagine that the setting is that there are two kingdoms at war. Or that's the prologue to your setting. And this world is magical, and there are mages and blah, blah, blah. And to prevent the other kingdom from amassing an army and just bringing it into the other kingdom's territory and save lives and whatnot, the mages, they create a spell that summons invisible magical mines all over the world. And this is to prevent armies from moving. This is to create a stalemate, to prevent mutual destruction, blah, blah, blah. So you have this world where anywhere you go, you can just blow up. Invisible, magical mines, you can't deactivate them, blah, blah, blah. Now, in this world, some humans decide that mages are too strong, so they kill them all. Okay? But then, now the mines are just scattered around the world, and all the mages are dead. And let's pretend that you're playing some sort of a half-mage character, and you're supposed to go find your magic blah, blah, blah. Now, imagine that you're out there exploring the world, and then suddenly you just blow up because you stepped on one of these mines. And then you respawn, and then 2 minutes later, you blow up again, and you just keep doing that. And the rest of the game is you just randomly dying at random points with no way to interact with it whatsoever. That is horrible game design. And I'm not saying NieR does this, but I'm just saying that is horrible game design. However, that is game design that is explained in the lore of this hypothetical game. But just because it's explained does not make it good. It is still shit, and it's still a game that nobody would want to play. So, just because this game explains some of its shitty choices does not mean that those shitty choices are justified. In addition to that, the game is really bland to look at most of the times. The port is horrible. The controls on mouse and keyboard is shit. And I know some people will probably say, well, it's not made for mouse and keyboard. Well, I don't care. It was released on PC. If you release a game on PC, most people play with mouse and keyboard on PC. You gotta make a game that functions with mouse and keyboard. You can't like release it on a platform and then be like, well, screw the equipment you have, even though it's the standard equipment for that platform, and then charge full price for it. It's bad practice, and they get penalized for it. What else was I gonna say? Yeah, the 2D parts in the game, it's so bad. I really dislike it. And I think that's one of the things that annoys me the most, is how much time you spend in the 3D part of the game doing nothing. And then a lot of the action, I say action, is in the 2D part. And there's just so much 2D scrolling, top-down crap. This is not why I wanted to play this game. And I'll admit, I got baited by a lot of these YouTube shills that were making videos about this, claiming this was like modern art and shit. And they were just using the stock footage of the amusement park and stuff. And I'll admit, they did a good job pretending that that was the entirety of the game, that the rest of the game would be that way. It wasn't. After the amusement park, it was a downhill journey for this game, through and through. Completely baited. Didn't like that, didn't appreciate that at all. And also, the game is a bit of a waifu bait. And what I mean by that is that, although I like the characters, I like all of them, honestly. All the characters are good. But there is no denying that those characters are designed for you to develop some sort of pseudo-romantic relationship with them, and that messes with your mind. It messes with a critical part of your mind. And to some of you, that might sound odd. I understand that. But if you're familiar with Japanese media, whether it be games, idol culture, anime, maybe even TV shows, I haven't really watched that. This is something that they do a lot. They create characters that are either hollow for you to project your desires onto them, or they market characters in such a way that you will develop this weird attachment, this very weird romantic attachments with them. And it's surprisingly common, like way more common than you think. And it's a cheap trick to make you want to consume the product and not to think too critical about it, not to be too critical about it. And I don't appreciate it, because that is a cheap trick to cover up your mistakes. And there's a lot of mistakes to cover up. The game is also recycles a lot of content and blah blah blah. Like if you've seen my playthrough, you know why I didn't like it. That being said, there are things I like about the game also, so I will give it credit for some things. The combat, when it works, is fantastic. I really enjoy the combat. The idea of the combat, I should say. There is a particular boss fight I really love in this game, and it's the opera lady, the opera robot boss fight. It's probably one of the best boss fights I've had in a while. As a gamer, really loved it. The music is great. Even the like sort of ambient, not ambient, but like low-key background music is good. The characters are great. The story is great. Cutscenes are great. The lore is very interesting. Very, very interesting. Not gonna lie. I like the chip system. I genuinely like the chip system, and I hope to see something similar to that in the future games. So, and also I like the weapon art and the weapon martial arts choreography. There's this little detail that really impressed me. It's very little, but I liked it. Is when she's using when Tubi is using the staff spear or spear staff or whatever it was called. And she wants to make this, so you spin the staff, or she spins the staff, and she wants to make the staff go in the opposite direction. She taps the bottom of it with her heel, and it makes this nice clang sound. It's like such a nice detail. And it's such a shame that all of these individually great elements was attached to this bad core game experience. And that's what makes me very sad. Because individually, the things that I just mentioned are really good. And I would be so happy to see those things in other games. But it's attached to such a shitty game. Like, it's the gaming experience, the core gaming experience is so unpleasant and unfun. It just makes me sad that you have so many good elements attached to such an awful core game experience. That's what I'm trying to say. So I'm not saying the game is 100% poop, but it's just so many good things put onto, like, attached to a game that is so frustrating and annoying and unpleasant to play. It's like, it's a wasted opportunity, unfortunately. I really want to like this game, though. I just want to say that. I really wanted to like this game. And I still do. Like, a part of me wants to put it in C tier. I'm thinking of D tier, to be honest, but a part of me wants to put it in C tier. But I know that the part of me that wants to put it in C tier is just being it's selectively remembering the good parts of the game, and is avoiding thinking about all the annoying things. I know that for a fact, because it's rough, but I'm putting it in D tier. It's a shame. I wish all the good elements of this game was put into a better game. I really do. This game had potential for me, but unfortunately, no. Unfortunately, 2B's booty couldn't save this game from the D tier, from the gulag. Anyways, let's move on. Hades. I enjoyed Hades. It's high production value. Really think so. Crisp gameplay, good graphics, good sound, good voice acting, has some fun story, and exciting combat. It's very well made. So through and through, I was thinking of putting it in C tier. And the reason why I was thinking... That was my pen flying off my hand. I was thinking of putting it in C tier because it's very simplistic. It is replayable, and it does become very challenging as you add more modifiers to it. But there just isn't that much variety, if I remember correctly. Now, I might be misremembering, but I think I remember correctly. The variety is just not there. So it becomes repetitive really fast. Unless I missed some content, which is possible, but I'm not sure if I did. Yeah. What the? Okay, well, that happened. I'm putting it in D tier. Sadly. I thought I was going to put it in C tier, but I'm thinking about it now and talking about these other games, and I'm trying to be consistent with the way I'm ranking these. It might be a little bit too low. I'm not gonna lie. If you think it's C tier, I wouldn't disagree with you necessarily. But seeing how I've ranked the other stuff, like, is Hades really in the same tier as Hollow Knight? Not for me. Hollow Knight is clearly better than these games. So I think, yeah, Hades goes into C tier. It just doesn't have variety enough. For a game like this, I'm not sure if it's roguelike or roguelite, whichever one it is, there needs to be variety. Can't have mostly the same thing going on over and over and over again. So I'm putting it in D tier. Still a good game, still a good casual game to play. If you're unfamiliar with games like Dead Cells or other roguelike games, Hades is a very good entry point, I think. But if you're really looking for a proper brain squeeze challenge with a lot of variety and a lot of just fun, and you like the excitement of clearing a stage and looting your way through it to see what kind of weird combination of things that you get and how you're going to have to solve that as a problem, Hades really isn't that. And that's mainly because we have another game on this list, sorry, that is that. And that is Dead Cells, which goes into C tier for me. I didn't play Dead Cells a lot, and you can argue that Hades has better graphics and production value, and I can understand that. This type of pixelated graphic isn't for everyone. Fully understandable. However, and although the controls are crispier on Hades, for Hades than it is for Dead Cells, the sheer volume of combinations, interesting combinations I should add, that you can have in Dead Cells is mind-boggling. Not only is it the items themselves, but also all these stats that you can have on them. It's genuinely a fun experience to just see what kind of problems the game presents to you, like as a puzzle, and how to solve that as you're moving through the maps. I understand also that, but I do understand that not everyone might not like the style of Dead Cells. It might be a little bit tedious to play, and they would prefer Hades. I understand that. If you want to switch them, if you want to put them on the same tier, I understand the argument, and I'm sure you have a valid reason for it. And I would probably, from your point of view, I probably agree also. But I specifically value the sheer amount of item combinations that you can get. I think that's one of the core things that make these type of games fun, and it's better than Dead Cells, I think. Originally, I was gonna put them on the same tier because I think they kind of do what the other one doesn't do well. The controls and the graphics is much better in Hades, streamlined, voice acting, story, but Dead Cells has actual raw content and variety. So they kind of cancel each other out, but now that I'm thinking about it, I genuinely do think Dead Cells is a little bit better. So I'm putting it there. I don't think it's too controversial. Alright, let's go to Dark Souls. I've been delaying this one enough. Don't dislike the video, please, just because you disagree. As a matter of fact, if you want to hurt my feelings for talking shit about Dark Souls, you should like and subscribe, because that hurts my feelings a lot. If that's really what you want. Like, if you like and subscribe, I'm not even sure what I'm gonna do with my life. I probably won't even get out of bed. Like, I'll be very sad. So please do that. Let me drink a little. Alright. So yeah. If you want to tell me how much you want me to die, as I pointed out earlier, you can be as visceral as you want in the comment fields. Happily read that. Anyways, Dark Souls. Dark Souls. I didn't really enjoy this game that much. I think it's a fairly mediocre game. And there's a lot to talk about, but I'm not sure if it's needed to talk about all of that stuff. Let's talk about some of the things. One of the things that annoy me the most about Dark Souls is how shitty the game runs, or how shitty the game plays. I don't know how to explain this. I'm sure some people can explain it better. But so often when I played this game, it felt like what I was doing, or the game that I was playing, the code that I was playing behind the scenes, and the stuff that was happening on screen didn't match. It felt like two different games. And for someone that really enjoys crisp gameplay, that is very frustrating. Very, very frustrating. It has nothing to do with the difficulty of the game, because the game isn't very difficult at all. And I know there is a lot of elitism going around with this game. From what I've read, people often brush off criticism as in, oh, you're just shit at gaming, like get good, that kind of stuff. I don't think this game is hard at all. I come from and I'm not bragging or anything, difficulty comes in many varieties. I come from an FPS world, ranked FPS world, climbing to the top of the ladder, stuff like that. That is hard. Climbing to the top of a competitive shooter is hard. This game is not hard at all. It's just tedious. Just annoying and tedious. That's what it is. And although some people might find it hard, and I'm not saying you're bad, keep in mind, I'm not saying you're bad if you find it hard. People play different type of games. I'm just pointing out that brushing my criticism off as I'm not good at the game is not valid. It doesn't work here. That's all I'm saying. This game annoys you more than anything. And I know that is kind of the style of Dark Souls. It kind of drags you down, and it annoys you, and it wears you down, and it makes you impatient, and it just makes you make more mistakes than you usually would do. And it's annoying game design. It really is. Now, going back to the engine, or whatever, the code, whatever makes this game play so awfully. We know that these people can make better games. I think they made Sekiro, right? If I remember correctly, they made Sekiro. Now, I might be wrong here, but if this is the case, and we'll get to Sekiro, and you'll understand what I'm talking about later. Maybe I should have done Sekiro first, but whatever. We know these people can make better games, which means that they deliberately made Dark Souls to be janky. Like, they sat down and they were like, let's make a game that feels like an indie game. So they artificially make it janky and sluggish. And I hate that. I absolutely fucking hate it. In addition to that, I'm not going to talk more about this, but in addition to that, fractured storytelling, I hate it. I hate how these people have streamlined shitty storytelling. Don't like the graphics. To be fair, the visuals look good in some parts. For instance, armor design. The armor design is great. Absolutely great. the weapon designs. The weapon design is also very great. There are some parts of the maps that you go through that look very good. Like some of the boss arenas and the throne rooms, they look really, really, really good. But that just goes to show that they could have made it look better in general. They just decided not to. Which makes me mad. Let's just say it. It's mad. The rest of the game looks sluggish, almost pixelated, and it's very unclear, and it's like the same color palettes. Not into it. It looks kind of pukey from time to time. You can argue that this is the Dark Souls style as much as you want, and that you like it, and that is fine. You know, if you like that Dark Souls style, that is perfectly okay. But I don't. And visuals, as you might have figured out, is very important for me. I absorb media with my eyes and my ears as much as with it, as I interact with it. And I know some people argue that graphics, nobody cares about graphics. I care about graphics. And the graphics just aren't that good. In addition to that, the game is rather it's forgettable, unfortunately. The bosses are very forgettable. I don't know why it is. Because they weren't necessarily designed poorly. That wasn't my initial thought when I played the game. Some of them are. Let's say more than half of them were. But the other half, they were okay, but I just can't remember much of it. I have to really try to go back and think about it. Like, what was that boss? What was this boss? What was so special about that boss? It just isn't... It just fades. It's just forgettable. The two bosses that I really remember as fun to fight was Pontiff Sullivan and Santa Claus Viking. That's and actually, you know what, the Winter DLC, the painting also, but not because the fight was interesting, but because I liked the cutscene where the father goes insane because you killed the daughter. I think that cutscene was pretty well executed. But other than that, the bosses are just so forgettable, man. And I just can't handle a boss fight game that has forgettable bosses. That is just not forgivable for me. What else? What else can I talk about without being just redundant? We can talk about the reward structure. I've been thinking a lot about how to formulate this. I'm not even sure if I'm going to explain it correctly, but the best way I can explain the reward, the sensation of reward and achievement that you feel when you play this game is something that's similar to drug abuse. If that makes sense. You expose yourself to this, and then it ruins you from the inside. It pulls you down. It makes you miserable, frustrated, impatient, annoyed, angry. And then something happens and you get some sort of a release. And then you feel the pleasure of that release. And you mistake that as a reward, right? But in reality, what's happening is that the game is just pulling you down and then just returning you to baseline, your emotional baseline. So you might perceive that jump as massive ecstasy, not a drug, but just joy. But in reality, you're just going back up to baseline. And I'm not into that. I prefer the incremental, growing sensation of reward and growth in ability that happens. But that could also be because, again, I used to play FPS games and MMORPGs. And the reward structure in those games are very different than the reward structure in these Souls-type games. So we can credit that to that. And you might be different, and that's understandable. But for me, I see through that crap, and it just doesn't work. Now, the things that I liked, because I did like some things, it wasn't that bad. Although I don't think the OST, the music, fits the game, the quality of the OST is very high. It's something like it's high production quality, and that is admirable. I really like the RPG elements. This is something that I've done well from the beginning. the way you can customize your character exactly the way you want, the variety of weapons and the intricate design of those weapons, and how in some cases they just differ minutely, but the difference is in like the detail of the difference is so well executed that it can, like, you can feel joy around building around a particular weapon that is maybe 10% different than another weapon, but then make the build feel very different. And that is very well done. And that's actually very well done. Nothing else to say about it, really. And then there is this whole open world versus linear thing. I remember Dark Souls 2 being more open, and I was kind of expecting it. I didn't necessarily dislike that the Dark Souls 3 was linear. I found it enjoyable, actually, going from zone to zone in more of a like dark fantasy adventure journey than this kind of like horror pseudo open world dark horror whatever that Dark Souls 2 was. I know I'm gonna guess that some people didn't like the linearity of Dark Souls 3. Personally, I didn't mind. I actually didn't mind. I think the linearity of it is probably a reason why I would still think it's a fine recommendation if you can get the game for cheap to play through it one time. It lends itself to casual gameplay more than Dark Souls 2, so it's easier to recommend for a casual gamer for a one-time playthrough, and I actually think that's a positive more than anything. I honestly did not mind just seeing what the developers had in store for me. It's like, it is kind of stagey. You know, you're going from one stage to another, and there is a clear cutoff point when your stage is finished and you're going off to the other, to the next stage. Some people might not like that, but I didn't mind. I thought it was fine. So it's not a bad game by any stretch of the imagination. It's just a bland game, if that makes sense. It's just tasteless. It doesn't have any flavor. It's like cooked meat with no seasoning. I mean, it's still meat. You still eat it and get nutrition, but it's not really tasting anything. You know, it's like chicken breast. It's cooked chicken breast. Well, actually, I like chicken breast, but I know a lot of people don't. It's like, it's just bland. It's bland and annoying. That's what it is. It's not really worth full price. It's not even worth half price, to be honest. I'm putting it in D tier. Yeah, I'm putting it in D tier. I was thinking about putting it in C tier, but I'm putting it in D tier. And I'll explain why. I'm putting it in D tier because I was comparing it to NieR. And I was comparing it to NieR in a way like, is it better or worse? And although the core gameplay is better in Dark Souls, I like the spice and the glitter in NieR more. So my argument is they kind of cancel each other out and get the same value, in a sense, the pros and cons. So I put them in D tier. Now, I know a lot of you will probably argue that this is in S or A or even B tier. I understand. Some of you are fans of it. Understandable. I am happy that you find a way to enjoy it. Unfortunately, I couldn't. And there's not much more else to that than that. The only real bad negative thing about it that I hate, and I wish more people would be against, is the fractured storytelling, the narrative structure. I hate that they're pushing it. I hate that they're making it a standard in the gaming industry. I wish they would stop. Everything else I understand is subjective, and you know, you're entitled to your opinion. So am I. And if you enjoy it, then more power to you. Since we did Dark Souls, let's do Mortal Shell. Mortal Shell, I like a lot. I like Mortal Shell a lot. I think Mortal Shell is the better version of Dark Souls. I'm putting it... Shit. Where did I put this? Let's talk about it a little bit first. Mortal Shell looks good. It plays well. It has better immersion. It has better sound effects and visual effects that make you feel like something is happening in combat, the feedback. It has, just like Dark Souls, it has fantastic character visuals. It has some user interface upgrades over Dark Souls that I think makes it a lot better. For instance, just to mention one, the codex by itself, it's baffling to me that Dark Souls doesn't have a codex. Just the codex makes exploring the lore and the universe so much better in Mortal Shell. It's just a better game. The only problem I have with Mortal Shell really is that there's just not enough of it. Like, I want more. And I understand it's an indie game. I understand it's very expensive for an indie game, and it feels more like a demo, like a tech demo of some sort. And it's a damn good tech demo, honestly. It's so good that I want a full budget AAA version of this. Just give it. What are they waiting for? Work on it. It's actually just really, really good. But I can't speculate on what the game could have been as a AAA game. So I have to rank it as is. And there are two things that kind of hold it back. One is the price. The price is kind of high for such a small game, for kind of an extended tech demo, I'll have to admit. And they didn't develop the bosses enough. Now, judging by the quality of the rest of the game, honestly, I don't doubt that if they had enough time or more time and more funding, they would make the bosses great. But again, that is speculation, and I can't really give it points for something I am speculating. So I have to judge what I saw, and I'm a little bit baffled by the fact that they didn't spend more time on the bosses, though. Because there weren't that many. The game isn't that big. They could have spent a little bit more time refining the bosses. So I put it in B tier. I put it in B tier while saying that if this game had more money, more time, it would probably end up in A tier, perhaps even S tier. It's just a really good game. It has tremendous potential. Absolutely tremendous potential. I want more of this. More Mortal Shell, please. Let's talk about Cyberpunk. Cyberpunk, I'll tell you where I'm really thinking about putting it. Either S tier or A tier. And I know S tier, me just saying S tier for Cyberpunk, probably made a couple of you jump out the window as first. I'm gonna wait for you to crawl back in. I'm gonna give you 5 seconds. Alright, now that you're seated, let's continue. I know the flaws of the game. I know it has some glitches or bugs. I know it has flaws. I know there is a lot of controversy attached to this game, and I have great sympathy for the people that struggled to run this smoothly. It is a very heavy game to run, no doubts about it. It's hard to run it at high quality, especially if you have high resolution, and I have great sympathy for it. I have great sympathy for people that were looking forward for this during Christmas, people that took a day off work to play it, etc., only to get smacked in the face. I feel bad. That being said, the story in this game is one of my favorites. It is a deeply dark and emotional story. The characters in this game are through and through amazing. I can't stress enough how much I loved the story in this game. I genuinely think back at this game, and I miss the main character as if she was a friend in my life. You know, as if it was someone I knew. I feel like we got to know V, at least the way I played her, so well that she kind of manifested into like a memory of a real person. It's odd. I genuinely love the setting. I think it was called Night City. Excuse me if I'm wrong. And although I said in my review the game doesn't reinvent the wheel in terms of storytelling, it's just a solid story. I remember playing it, and I just wanted to get all the open world crap done so I could just hurry up and get back to the story. And it's kind of the same feeling that I have with Witcher, but just amplified. I just like the setting of Cyberpunk more. I can't explain it. I specifically remember this one scene where they're in the dollhouse looking for that one missing doll character, and V is laying there on her side with one of the doll escorts, and she's just opening up about what she's feeling and what's happening to her. And it's just such a... It just represents the journey that you're taking with this character that is about to die, and the pain that this character feels, in addition to all the fantastic characters around. And it's just fantastic. It's absolutely fantastic. I miss the story so much. So the question then becomes, much like with The Witcher, how much does the open world nonsense pull down the game? And when I played it, at the time, I felt it pulled it down quite a bit. But now, after I've let the memories of me playing the game age for a little bit, I'm going to have to reconsider how much how much that was in the way. And when I made this list yesterday, when I was quickly thinking about the game, I was thinking A tier. But now that I'm thinking about it, I'm seeing where I've placed the others. Honestly, I'm thinking S tier. And I know some of you might be furious about this, because hating on Cyberpunk is such a popular thing, and I understand it. There's a lot of shit that didn't have to do with the game, but the company, and they deserve criticism for it. But the game is good. The game is really good. Yes, it's glitchy. Yes, it's buggy. But if the modding community, and I know there are some mods for Cyberpunk that adds and fixes a lot of things, if the modding community is as dedicated to Cyberpunk as they are with The Witcher, this game is gonna age so well. I mean, so well. The visuals are gonna hold up forever. Like, forever. And fans of the game in the modding community, they're just gonna keep adding fun stuff to this game, for sure. Like, beyond a doubt. And even if, as with The Witcher, I'd argue that it's more with The Witcher than with Cyberpunk, doing the generic collectible map crap that you have to do in open world games, going from point to point, blah blah blah, is annoying. At the very least, the setting is much better with Cyberpunk, and it's much more tolerable. The game also plays significantly better. The Witcher is clunky to play, and although I hate the clunk in Witcher, I'm willing to overlook it. The port isn't that good, but I'm willing to overlook it. You can almost argue that I might have put Witcher in B tier, now that I think about it, but I'll keep it in A tier. Because, it's not that bad, but it's quite bad. It's Geralt just sliding around, getting stuck everywhere. That's not something that occurs in Cyberpunk. So Cyberpunk is definitely an improvement. Definitely an improvement in the open world over The Witcher. And I also like the story better. Not because the story in The Witcher is bad, because I just love the setting and the story in Cyberpunk. I think this game is going to age really well. I think this game has a lot of good things about it. And I'm very emotionally connected to this game. I know that makes it very subjective. I know some of you might put it in B or C tier. Understandable. I'm going to let my emotions take control over this one and put this in S tier. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it. Although the bugs and glitches was annoying. I'll concede to that. But I'm actually willing to overlook it for this game specifically, to put it in S tier. I changed my mind in the last moment. Was going to put it in A tier, but do you know what? The setting, the world, the graphics, it's just so good. It's just so good. It's beyond good. And then you add the mods to it. I'm happy with this. I know some of you might have already, bought a plane ticket to to where I am to try to find me and kill me, but you know what? I'm okay with this. Let me drink. Alright. Halo Infinite. My god. What the actual fuck is this piece of shit game? Like, what is this? This turd right here is a fucking insult. Sorry for my language, but it needs to be said. This game is an insult to all gamers out there. Somebody over at whatever the hell studio made this, 343 or whatever. I think it's 343. I kind of mess it up. I think Bungie is Destiny and this is 343. I don't remember. Or one or the other. Somebody sat in a fucking meeting. They saw a demo of this game. And they were like, yeah, people will like this. And they will pay full price for this. Absolutely. Or they thought it's shit, but people are gonna buy it anyways because they're stupid. Either way, it's a fucking insult. This goes into this tier right here. And this tier stands for horse shit. This is horse shit tier. Absolutely goddamn horse shit. Hold on, before I rant about this. This is an abomination of a game. Honestly, it is. Oh my god, I get frustrated just thinking about it. What the fuck went through their minds with this game, man? What is this shit? Where do I even begin? Let's just begin with the one thing, the two things that they did well. And before I start, I'm a Halo fan, okay? I am a Halo fan. I've been a Halo fan ever since Halo 1, honestly. But I specifically became a very hardcore Halo fan with Halo 3. So I've been willing to overlook a lot of things after Halo 3 in order to still enjoy Halo. And I have, okay? I've overlooked a lot. But this abomination is... Okay. Okay, what's good about the game? Okay, let's talk about what works, which is two things. One, the visual effects, the visuals in general, the lighting and the visuals and the design of some of the alien infrastructure that you are entering. It looks really good. Like, it looks really, really good. I'll give them that. Whoever worked on that, very good job. You are probably underpaid as hell, and you deserve a raise. Because judging by the quality of the rest of the game, it seems to me that those people are the only ones who actually did their fucking job. So, kudos to you. Second, the transition between cutscene and gameplay. It does this weird camera thing. It's a small thing, but it's a nice detail. So good job on that too. I liked it. That's it. Those are the only goddamn things that are good about this game. Let's go through all the shit that is bad, okay? Let's start with the game itself. It runs on an emulator or something. I don't know what it is. It doesn't have dedicated full screen. It runs like shit. And it feels like it's an emulator. I have, my friend has played emulators before, and I've seen him play it, and it feels exactly the same. It's awful. Okay, fuck it. It runs on an emulator. Horrible, alright? They abandoned the mission structure of the old games. Now, I'm not saying that they need to stick to that, but it worked. That's the thing. It worked. And then they abandoned it for this weird hybrid open world, not replayable mission structure that they have now. And again, I'm not opposed to changing things, okay? I'm not one of those guys. It's not the same game as before, it's shit, it's not what I'm saying. But if you are gonna change shit that works, you better make sure that what you're changing it to also works. You can't go away from something that works to something horrible and then expect people not to react. You know, if you're experimenting with new things, new additions to the game, and it doesn't work, fine, all right? You tried, you missed, better luck next time. But when you take shit away from the game that works really well and then replace it with horse shit, then people are gonna react. And the mission structure here is horrible. Like, what is this? It's not replayable. I don't even think co-op was working when I was playing it. Replayability wasn't working when I was playing it. And the open world is just empty. There is nothing in it. So let's move to the open world. First of all, it looks like shit. Some parts of the map, and you can see it in my playthrough, some parts of the map looks like it's from Halo Combat Evolved on the Xbox. It is like the original Halo. It is bad. It is so bad. There is barely anything to look at in the world. There's barely any exploration to do. Like, there is some Easter eggs laying around. It's like, who gives a shit? Who gives a shit about any of that crap? And then it's the fucking collectibles. Back to this, like, we're moving into storytelling now, I guess. Oh, the story, man. God damn it. Where do I even begin with a shitty story? My head is spinning. Hold on. I'm trying to, like, it's a tornado of horse shit in my head right now, and I'm trying to, like, structure it properly. Just give me a moment. Alright, the story. So the game has, I guess, a story of some sort, where you're just moving around, looking at other people doing things. Do you understand the absurdity of that being the main story? You are running around, watching other people have a story arc. It is the equivalent of watching someone watch a movie. Who thought that was a good idea? Who thought that? And I said this in the review. It is sort of a parallel story going on, this parallel love story going on between Cortana's storyline and Master Chief's storyline. I don't mind that kind of narrative structure. Okay? It's pretty cool. The problem is, nothing is happening in the storyline that the Master Chief is in, the one we are playing. Everything is happening on the Cortana side of things. It's there's no duality. You're literally just watching the Cortana storyline happening in front of your eyes. And the few fucking things that are introduced in your storyline, which is the intro, where your ship gets boarded and you get smacked around, which is the introduction of the new enemy that I don't even remember what was called, the one that is bitter because they weren't chosen, the humans were chosen or something. And the grunt guy. And I'll get to that bullshit fucking villain in a second. Those things just weren't even explored. Like, they were teased, and that was it. Like, nothing else. And then in addition to that, they have managed to put in goddamn fractured storytelling again. Fucking audio log after audio log after audio log. It's like, please, somebody shoot me, alright? Take a bazooka, stuff it down my throat, and pull the trigger. It would be less painful than these stupid audio logs. I don't understand this. I don't understand this, okay? Halo is a shooter. It's an FPS game. And I can understand that they wanted to innovate. But here's the thing about FPS games. They are like interactive action movies. Okay? If you look at Titanfall, if you look at Call of Duty, if you look at the old Halo games, they are simple, but consistently action-packed and good. Because they are action movies that you interact with. Now, I'm not saying all FPS games need to be this way. Again, you're allowed to try to innovate. But when you throw the entire goddamn wheel out the window, and when you try to reinvent the wheel, and you end up with a triangle, like, it's... Oh my god, dude. Like, why? Why would they do this? there's nothing in the story whatsoever. It's just nothing in there. And then let's talk about this bad guy. What the fuck, man? It's written by this edgy teen that saw a 5-minute video on Shakespeare, and this boss, this hologram essentially, is just grunting at you. It's just fucking... It's your interaction with the main guy, the main bad guy in this iteration of Halo, is you watching a giant hologram of this fucking orc, essentially, grunting at you for 4 minutes straight, pretending to be Shakespeare. It's like, Jesus Christ, this guy is fucking killing me with his speeches. He's not even killing me like as a warrior. He's just boring me to death. Like, if that was his master plan, the bad guy, I don't even remember what his name was. If that was his master plan, to kill Master Chief with boredom, then fantastic, 300 IQ move. But my god, is it an uninteresting fucking villain. It is absolutely uninteresting. Every single word that came out of that dumbass's mouth was pompous, fake-ass Shakespearean garbage. And it's like, look, if you can't write dramatic Shakespearean monologues for your villains, then just write them stoic. It's better. It's always better. A stoic, scary, intimidating villain that doesn't say much but acts is always better than a pompous, garbage, useless villain. Like, it's always the case. Like, it's always the case, and they just picked the dumbest one out of all. Man, it's giving me a headache. Let's move on. What else? What else is piece of shit game? Oh, the open world. Like, alright, I said earlier that if you want to try something new, that's fine. If you miss, that's fine. So, one thing they did try was this kind of like hunt. This kind of predator thing where you have VIP targets around the world that you need to hunt. And I'm not opposed to that idea, actually. I kind of like the idea, to be perfectly honest with you. It fits the setting, although the setting is shit. It fits the setting. But the execution is bad. The execution is so bad. These enemies are dumb as hell. Even the special ones. All they're doing is they have some special armor, some special weapons, and they're bullet sponges. That's literally it. They just scaled up the HP, maybe even the damage from the regular enemy, and that's it. Like, that's literally it. And we know this kind of thing works. I haven't played the game myself, but I've seen a couple of videos on it. Some of the Lord of the Rings games. I think it's Shadow of Mordor. But they have a very intricate system of villains adapting to what you do, and how you hunt them, and how you kill them, and how that affects the variables in place in the world where these bad guys, these lieutenants, commanders, captains, whatever, are connected to each other. So the idea works, but it needs to be executed properly. You can't just scale up a basic enemy unit and be like, yeah, bad guy, super VIP villain, assassinate, woo, content. No, it's not. It's boring. And this leads us to another fucking thing that's boring. The weapons, man. It's an FPS game. You need to have feedback when you're firing your gun. This game has no feedback whatsoever. Every gun is plain and boring to fire. It's like, and shooting the enemy is boring as well. It's like shooting cardboard targets. It's so uninteresting to fire your gun. I mean, add some sound effect, add some feedbacks, like add some sound of bullets traveling through the air. Like you're out in an open field, add some echo to the guns, you know, something that makes you feel some sort of oomph when you're firing these weapons. But it's just like BB guns. You're firing BB guns at cardboard boxes. That's it. That's the only thing you're doing. It's so tame. Oh my god, dude, this is such a bad game. Anyways, the last thing I'm gonna say about this game, the rant. Look, all gamers know that gaming isn't necessarily the most productive thing you can do with your time. We all know that. Let's not kid ourselves. there is some positive effects. It's good escapism. It helps with a lot of getting calm, distracting yourself. It helps with some tasks and some skills, like in thought processes and dexterity and blah. Like, there is benefits to gaming, but we also all know that there are other things we could do. We could go outside, we could do some exercise, we could learn new things, productive things, or get a second job and make even more money and invest that. There are things that we can do. So we all make that choice. We say that, what? For these couple of hours, I just want to play some games. And we know it, right? Nobody's an idiot. We know what it is. And when these games, and we do it because of immersion. That's what I wanted to say. We do it because of immersion into these fantasy worlds, these fictional worlds. And we like it, and that's completely fine. But the game has to be immersive. It is the game's responsibility to draw you in and make you feel like you're in the world. Now, good games do that, and mediocre games do not, but they still have some enjoyment factors, like the ones in the D tier here, And the D tier games, they make you feel like you wasted some of your money, and maybe you learn a little bit about your purchasing behavior or patterns, and you'll be a little bit more skeptical next time, whatever. But you played the game, you got some experience out of it, whatever. But then there are those games that completely make you feel like you wasted your time. And that is an absolute disaster. Because this game, and it's the only game that I have played in a very long time that made me feel this way. When I played Halo Infinite, I questioned what the fuck I was doing with my life. I really did. I sat there and was thinking, why am I playing this? Why the fuck am I doing this? Why am I not outside? Why am I not doing something else with my life? Right? It made me ask, why the hell I'm even spending time with games? And that is a fucking disaster. And that's all I want to say about that, because I don't want to make this a 2-hour rant about this piece of shit game. It's a dog shit game. And I would not ever recommend that you didn't buy any of these games. That's why I always recommend to wait for a sale. So like the D tier, I'd say wait for like an 80% sale or something. C tier, 50% is good. B tier, say 40%. A tier, you can get away not waiting on a sale, but a good package isn't a bad deal. Here's S tier, I wouldn't fault you for buying full price. So I will always give out a buy recommendation at what level, because I know a lot of effort is put into making these games and gave developers they care. Halo, do not buy. Not only do not buy, if you get this for free, don't fucking waste your time. It is not worth the time that you put into it. It's dog shit. Actually, you know what? It's horse shit. That's what this tier is. Even brown. Horse shit. Stay away from this game. It is horrible. If this is the direction that the Halo franchise is taking, I am done with Halo. This might be what killed Halo for me. Stay the fuck away from it. Does not deserve your attention. Alright. Now that that's done, sorry about the rant. It's just such a fucking shit game. Anyways, Sekiro. Without a doubt, Sekiro is S tier. Sekiro is S tier. And do you know what? It's so S tier. I'm gonna do this. Give me a moment. Line this up. I just want it to be here. For aesthetic. For the aesthetics. There we go. Sekiro is an S tier game by far. It is fantastic on almost all fronts. I have very few problems with this. Let's just go through maybe the problem. It's a little bit of repetitive content, or recycled content. And it has one annoying boss fight. Now, I want to say something. When I played this game, I was a little bit too salty, admittedly, especially towards the end. And it wasn't, now that I think about it, it wasn't because the game was annoying or anything. It was because I was getting impatient, and that is 100% my fault. I was getting impatient because I really wanted to play Dark Souls for some dumb reason. I was rushing through the game a little bit at the end. Not worth it, by the way. So yeah. Thinking back, my salt got a little bit of the better of me when I criticized some of the bosses. I take some of that criticism back. I criticized the final boss. I didn't like that there was an extra phase before you got to do the final boss. That I stand by. But the boss itself was good. I criticized Owl, the boss fight. I take that back. I criticized Lady Butterfly. I take that back. I've been thinking a lot about it. And honestly, looking at these other games, the boss fights in Sekiro are phenomenal. They're fantastic. I still maintain that you could maybe run into Lady Butterfly a little bit too early, but that's fine. This game has fantastic bosses. There's only one boss I don't like, and that's because of the controls, and that is the double ape fight. Other than that, honestly, it's fantastic. It's one of the two games. These two games, Sekiro and Cyberpunk, have actually grown on me. I've been thinking a lot about them, and the value of the memory I have of this game have actually increased. Most of these other games, they kind of fade away over time. Sekiro and Cyberpunk have increased value for me over time. They've aged very well over time, and that's part of the reason why they're in S tier. I'm not going to go into detail why Sekiro is S tier, because honestly, almost everything about the game is fantastic. It looks amazing. The immersion of the nature that you're in is fantastic, especially for someone like me who lives in a country where it snows. Being on snowy mountaintops and feeling that snow immersion is just next level. The fighting is crisp. The sound effect is crisp. It has very cool shinobi-like gadgets. The boss fights are intricate and mechanical, and I love it. The controls, oh my god, man. This is a port. This is a Japanese port, man. I'm even surprised that the Japanese know what PC gaming is, yet they somehow managed to port this game over to mouse and keyboard. It is absolutely beautiful the way it plays. This is how ports are supposed to feel like. Is it perfect? No. When you have multiple enemies that are moving around a lot on screen, the camera starts dragging a little bit because of sensitivity issues. It's not perfect. I'm perfectly willing to deal with that compared to some of these other port. I'm not saying the games are shit. I'm saying the port quality for mouse and keyboard is horrible. Sekiro runs so well. The environments are just so beautifully designed, especially that water temple area. Holy crap, it is magnificent to look at and be around. The upgrading is fun. I guess the OST didn't really stand out, so I guess that could have been better. The story, I like the story. It's very simple, but emotional. Like, some of the endings are actually very emotional. I like the characters. I like the voice acting. Like, Sekiro just shows to me everything that is wrong with Dark Souls. All this indie crap that they fake in Dark Souls. Like, they added things to Sekiro that makes me wonder, why doesn't the industry just do this normally? The cutscenes, the voice acting, the story, it doesn't have to be a lot. And Sekiro proves this. You just need a little bit. A little bit of high quality seasoning to good core gameplay goes a long way. And Sekiro's evidence of this. I wrote in my review that I think Sekiro is going to be the gold standard for a lot of Souls-like games going forward. I genuinely believe that, and I hope that, because practically everything about this game I love. It is such a good game, and it has tremendous replayability. It's one of the few games I've replayed on recording, and I enjoyed it. The second and third time I played it, I actually tried to amateur speedrun it a little bit. See how far I can get, how fast I can do it, how clean I can do it, how few deaths I can do it with. It was fun. It's a fun game to challenge yourself with. It's a fun game to play. It's so immersive. It's a fantastic game. It's a fantastic game. Strongly recommend this to everybody. Absolutely everybody. And I can't wait for the second one. I don't know if there's a second one. I hope there is a second one. But yeah. Honestly, I could dig into details, specific things that make this game good, but I don't think there's a point in doing it. I genuinely think it's one of the best games I've played in a very, very long time. It just has so many good design choices. Through and through, just excellent design choices. So yeah. Really miss this game. If I had more time, I would play it. Anyways. Yeah, easily the best game on the list. It beats out Cyberpunk 2 for me. Cyberpunk has a better story, but overall, Sekiro is a fantastic, borderline... It's as close to a perfect game that you can come, I think. There are things to nitpick at, but honestly, it's hard to make a perfect game, and Sekiro got really, really close. Really, really close. So yeah. I think that's it. Is there anything that maybe I would change around now at the end? I guess maybe there's an argument for moving NieR and Dark Souls up to C tier. Maybe I'm being a bit too harsh, and I recognize that there is a chance that I'm being a little bit too harsh on these games, but I'm going off of the emotions and the memories that I had. So yeah. Generally, I think maybe Hollow Knight could also go up to B tier, but I'm really hurt. Really, really, really hurt by the way they managed the story. The narrative structure here. Really not offended, but really hurt by it. So I think it fits here. Other than that, I think the list looks fine. So I'm gonna end here. I'm not gonna drag it out. I hope you had fun. I hope you had fun listening to some of my rants. I hope you weren't too offended by me maybe dissing on some of your favorite games, or maybe not ranking it the way you would. I would be very interested to know if there's anything you would change. I suspect that the NieR and Dark Souls would go up, and I suspect that Cyberpunk would go down. I think that's definitely something that people will suggest, but other than that, I would be genuinely interested to hear, not hear, but see what other people think about some of the other games. Other than that, thank you for watching if you sat through this whole thing. Thank you for listening to my rants. Thank you for not disliking the video. Thank you for liking and subscribing it instead. And thank you for writing how much you hate me and how much you want me to die horribly in the comments. I'm looking forward to that. If it will happen. Other than that, I guess I will see you in the next one, which will be a new game playthrough. I have something interesting planned. I hope it works out. Hope you like it. Have a nice day, and bye.